In today's video, I'm going to go through a few more off-road skills applicable to gravel, mountain bikes and cyclocross bikes as well. I'm going to start off with how to ride down very small drops or steps. Then I'm going to move on to riding up smooth banks. I'm also going to do mud. I'm also going to go through how to go down a really steep slope that's relatively smooth and quite slippy, and then I'm going to finish off with some cobbles, because actually one of the shoots that I do today is actually on an old drover's road, so it's very similar to sort of a very rocky terrain that you might meet whilst you're out on the trail. Skill number one, riding down something like these steps here or some very bumpy terrain where you don't need to pedal and you need to stay light on the bike. You need to drop your heels and bend your arms, keep your arms and hands nice and light, because your heels on the bike and your elbows will act as a bit of natural suspension every time you go down one of these little drops on here. Particularly important if you're on a gravel bike and you've got no suspension. Next skill that I'm going to go through is riding up a steep smooth bank. So it needs to be approached in a gear that you can pedal hard all the way up. At the bottom part, sit down so you can put on maximum speed as you start to hit the incline, out the saddle and then drive over the top. First of all, I'd like to say a huge thank you to all those people who subscribe to my channel. It really good, makes me really happy. Thank you so much. Also, I love reading your comments below the videos as well. It's really good. It's good for me and it's good for other people to see what you're saying as well. And also, if you've got things to contribute, put them there. It's absolutely brilliant. I like sometimes to try and get a bit of a two-way exchange of ideas. Really good, so thank you. Right, next one, mud. Riding through mud. We've got lumpy mud. We don't quite know how deep that is. Not good for your rear mech, and if you've got a front mech on as well, you don't want big clods around either of those because it can break them. But here we've got some mud. It's got water on, it's a bit runny. The fact that it's got water there probably tells me that underneath there is a hard bottom. That's why that water's sitting on the top. Now this is where I've got a huge advantage being on skinny tyres. Remember, I'm on 33mm cyclocross tyres, because my tyres will probably dig in and find a hard bed at the bottom. Right, to get through that mud successfully, you need to have your bike in a gear that you can pedal really hard, because what might happen is the bike will start to snake, but as long as you're driving that bike forward, that doesn't matter, you'll pop out the other side. Okay, next one, riding down a really steep slope. I'm going to scrub speed off at the top, so I come down very controlled but with enough momentum to carry me down. I'm going to be down on the drops, covering the brakes, because I'm probably going to hold on to those brakes all the way down. My weight's going to be towards the back of the bike, and I'm going to keep my centre of gravity very low as I come down, and I'm going to stay relaxed. Here we've got a bit of pave or cobbles, because this is actually an old drover's road. Technique for riding these: be in a good gear so you can pedal fairly hard, be determined. You drive it through so the cobbles don't dictate where the bike goes, you do. These ones are actually quite big. On some, you might be able to sit down. On these ones, because they are that big and we don't want to bottom out or have a puncture, I'm actually going to be tiny, just hovering above the saddle with a fair bit of weight on my legs. My hands are going to be light on the hoods, or if I was riding some proper pavé, for example in Paris-Roubaix, I might just have my hands completely on the tops, but very light, so the bike can flick-flack around, but I'm driving forward. A lot of the techniques that I've been talking about so far require you to be very relaxed on the bike, very little tension, so that you can react to what's happening. One thing that we can do, and I've pinched from the skiing fraternity, is if you feel yourself getting really gripped and you're tensing up, worst thing in the world, because you'll be projected like a missile off your bike, is to try smiling, and that relaxes all the muscles in your face and percolates down to your shoulders and below. Practice that smiling technique within the confines of your own home first of all, and then try it out on the trail. It does really work. Last couple of tips. If you are going out to practice a new technical skill, never really works if you leave it right to the end of the ride. Do it when you feel fresh. Next thing, if you're tired, again, it's not the right time to practice. And finally, if you do something really, really well, leave it at that. Always try to leave on a positive note, because that's the bit that will stick in your head.